I don't know who made the video about the coolant temperature sensor being easy to get in and out. It'd be a 5-minute job, but they were completely wrong. More especially on this one. This is a 2006 4.4 V8. It's an absolute nightmare. So so far what I've found out, in order to get it back in, you have to fish the sensor down through this area here and poke it into the hole. Now the clip, on the other hand, that's a completely different story. That's the hard part. This was the easy part. So far, I've taken the intake loose to be able to move it up and down, to be able to get my hands inside of here, because the clip comes in from the bottom side. It would probably be easier taking the whole entire thermostat housing off to be able to get this thing in there than it would be trying to fish my massive hands off inside of this hole. I mean, as you can see, this is like a 70 something millimeter, I think, throttle body inlet, 4 fingers wide, and I'm having to kind of cut them a little bit to be able to get inside of there. If it gives you any idea on how big my hands are. So in order to get my hands under there, I have to take all of the bolts loose on the intake. Those are 10 millimeter. On the back, there's 2 that holds a wiring harness in place. Those are 8 millimeter. There's one nut here for all of this heater hose crap and PCV. Then there's a nut here and a nut here, also 8 millimeter. Then there's a stud up under this that's a 10 millimeter. And it looks like so. All of the others are regular 10 millimeter. So anyways, those bolts are loose. And as you can see, I've got a crow's foot bar inside of here. And that's as far up as I can go with it. I can get my hand down in there, but there ain't no way in heck I'm putting anything on it. So I'm thinking that I may end up having to take these lines here completely out of the way, disconnect the injectors and disconnect the fuel line to be able to take the intake completely off. And then up under here, shit, probably can't see it now, but there's a coolant neck up under there that has Torx. That coolant neck, if I take it out, then I can get up under the bottom side of it. But as it stands right now, that is not happening easily. 5-minute job, this guy says. Also had the throttle body that turned this direction, and you had all kinds of space with that plastic thermostat housing. Easily accessible. This thing right here was literally this far away from anything that would obstruct your hands from getting in. So I've removed the bolts from the EGR valve. I've removed the bolts from the whole entire intake, the nuts that hold the heater hoses and stuff on. Now let's see, I removed the throttle body. This is 8 millimeter. The intake tube, which is there, are 7 millimeter. The 2 on the back are 8 millimeter. And I'm fairly certain I'm going to have to take these off to be able to gain access to the wiring harness. I'm going to have to figure out some way of moving all of this out of the way without disconnecting everything, which may not happen. I may end up having to take it loose here to be able to get this hose pulled back towards me. This hose is already loose, as it went right down here in the front. So that hose is not going to be an issue. Then disconnect the wiring harness there. All of that will fold back. And that's as far as I can see for right now. I'm pretty sure this is like the GM fuel lines where they quick disconnect with a tool. Then it'll all be downhill from there, I think, after this intake is out of there.